Hey, Soulmates, it's another Monday on tap. Plenty to discuss. Welcome to FOXSOUL's Black Report. We're following the latest in the officers charged in the death of Tyree Nichols, a development there, and the futuristic Afro exhibit that's set to open. I'm Courtney Hicks.
And I'm Lee Thomas in for Nicordelai Corte. We're also talking about the man who was kicked out of a school board meeting for no reason. And the former drug lord who is suing 50 Cent. Those stories that, of course, impact our people.
Yeah, we're going to bring you our news, our views, and our voice. So let's start in with Vice President Kamala Harris. The big news of today has arrived in Africa for a week-long visit. Dancers, drummers, and students greeted the VP when she arrived in Ghana's capital. Africa's population has a median age of 19, and the vice president's visit is expected to focus on the young people. She said it's an honor to witness the extraordinary invocation and creativity occurring on the continent.
On behalf of the president and our entire nation, we bring you greetings, and we are looking forward to this trip as a further statement of the long and enduring and very important relationship and friendship between the people of the United States and those who live on the continent of Africa.
Harris will meet with Ghana's president tomorrow. They're planning to discuss the economic and security challenges in the region. And our very own Nicordelai Corte sent that, what we call a SOT in, and he's hanging out with the VP.
Oh, that is exciting for him to be there.
Yeah.
And it's exciting for her to be there. She's not only going to be in that country, she'll tour 2 other countries, Zambia, Tanzania, I believe, and then she'll be back here April the 2nd. But it is the first time a person of her level has gone to tour multiple African countries from the Biden administration. So this is big. This is big to me.
It's huge.
And is it okay to say out loud, I love her?
It is okay.
I do.
Okay
I like how she handles her
journey,
business because she has gotten a lot of different kinds of criticism along the way, but she stands up for what she believes in. And speaking of going to Ghana, a lot of Idris Elba starting in the studio over there.
I was going to say, there's a list of A-listers who have followed her there to participate in the week-long festivities and meetings to drive all of those points home and really touch on everything that is to be touched upon during her agenda. It's really a fascinating visit.
I want to go to Accra. I want to go to Ghana. I want to go over there. I want to go to different countries.
It's both on our, we were talking about that before the show. It's both definitely on our bucket list to get over to Africa.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now let's go closer to home. The Florida NAACP has unanimously recommended that the National NAACP Board issue a nationwide travel advisory against moving or visiting the state of Florida.
I don't know about this one.
Yeah, this move is in response to Governor Ron DeSantis' attacks on diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives. Now, the National NAACP Board will vote on the measure next month. DeSantis brushed off the advisory as a stunt, but the NAACP argues that his policies are trying to revert the state back to the past. The attempts to get a reaction from the Florida Tourism Authority remains unreturned at this time.
Lee Thomas, I get it, I understand it, but it's a huge ask. You've got, you know, what about the African-American residents of Florida? I've got a brother who works in Orlando. My sorority is having a regional conference coming up at the end of April. Disney World. I mean, you know, you got folks on spring break, families, you know, planning to make visits there, you know, Black families, our soulmates. That's tough. That's a tough ask. I get it, though.
I think it's more of a statement than an ask, and it's a warning that if those policies continue, that I think a lot of African Americans will start to think about making that choice of relocating or not going to that state. I have thought of it myself as the policies have gone in, because I'm, as you think about where do I want to retire when I'm done, and Florida's kind of getting off that list.
Maybe there's a little bit more strategy to it. Maybe this is the beginning of maybe some sort of kind of boycott, maybe, more so than just don't go there, or you might want to not consider living there. Maybe it's a thing where for a period of time we let them feel it, because we've boycotted before and they felt it. So
right where it counts.
This might be the beginnings of us pulling together to maybe start something like that.
I hope so. That's how it begins. That's exactly how it begins.
Let's go to Manhattan, where the district attorney, Alvin Bragg, has received a threatening letter containing white powder, leading to an investigation by the FBI and the NYPD. Now, the letter contained a death threat as well amidst the office's investigation of former President Donald Trump. Bragg and his office have received several hundred threats in recent weeks, with a few dozen considered directly threatening. Now, the envelope was postmarked from, of all places, Orlando, Florida, and contained no dangerous substance. This incident follows Trump's false announcement of his arrest and his subsequent heated rhetoric, including a warning of, quote, potential death and destruction if indicted. What a way to continue to, incite your base of followers. And, this man in Manhattan is just trying to do his job. And for folks the prosecutor, for folks to, take matters into their own hands, or you feel the way you feel, but you can't cross the line as far as what the law says and what's lawful, and send this man threatening messages and letters that may cause him harm.
It is one of those things where you sit back and watch this play out, and it's almost unbelievable if we didn't have our recent history. For a former president to death and destruction, to say these things, to incite these things with no ramifications is interesting. But there's some history-making precedents in the legal proceedings that is being weighed on former President Trump. So it's one of those things where I hope nothing bad happens to anyone involved. But do we?
And he keeps pouring the fuel, but I think no matter how hot it gets, he's not going to be able to escape it.
Well, he's strategic. You say it's going to happen on Tuesday, and that therefore it can't happen on Tuesday because he just said it and made it a big deal. So I'm interested to see what it's like, a chess match. Interested to see what the next moves are. But I think this time he's going to get caught up. There's been, historically speaking, there's been times where you thought, okay, they're going to get him on this one. I think this time he's not going to avoid it. Maybe he's just trying to stay ahead of it, but the strategy sucks. It's not a good strategy, but he's avoided many things. We'll see. We will see. A homicide investigation is where we're going to now, and it has been launched after a medical examiner determined that 3 sisters who were briefly missing before their bodies were found in a Texas pond last summer, they were actually strangled to death. Now, the bodies of Zeriel Oliver, Amaya Hughes, and Tamari Oliver were initially reported as tragic drownings, but a medical examiner found lacerations on their face and determined they died by strangulation. Now, the sisters were reported missing by their cousin, who was babysitting them while their mom was at work. Authorities have taken multiple witness statements, and DNA testing is going on, but there is no mention of any potential suspects or motive yet. Yeah,
this is just, absolutely horrific, this discovery. And you've got this town going into mourning. It's a place called Atlanta, Texas. This is a first I've heard of it. But you have a town going into mourning under, these findings, first findings, which was they drowned, horrible accident. And now after, further investigations found that these girls have been murdered, and now DNA testing is underway to try to, identify a suspect or suspects. And it's just horrific. And, until, people are cleared, a lot of folks are looking at family members, the ones who've been posting on Facebook. I can understand why, until they can get some answers.
It's sad. And
beautiful little girls.
It's tough. But I am happy that the investigation wasn't closed at drowning, because in past, we know that that's where it would have ended. So it's good that the medical examiner, for whatever reason, kept moving forward with the case, and the new allegation. It's a year later, but better late than never, and the justice hopefully will be found for everyone involved.
True. All right, ex-cops Demetrius Haley, Emmett Martin, Justin Smith, and Desmond Mills have been decertified after their alleged involvement in the beating and death of Tyree Nichols. You see these men here. Nichols was repeatedly punched and kicked by officers during a traffic stop in Memphis. Body cam footage led to charges of second-degree murder, and the officers have 30 days to appeal. The city of Memphis charged 13 MPD employees with policy violations, and the Department of Justice launched a review of the case, as they should have.
Courtney, can I just say?
You can just say.
Tired.
Yeah.
Tired. I'm tired, and I know that it is our job and our obligation to continue to talk about this.
Yeah.
But when is change going to come? You know?
And I feel that, especially with you being a black male.
Yeah.
And when you get in your car, it doesn't matter that you are, Lee Thomas, anchor, pillar of the community, well respected. The folks in blue don't know that. And if you happen to run into one of those twisted folks in blue, your whole life can be compromised or sacrificed or taken, as we've continued to report day in and day out.
No one is immune. I've been stopped multiple times. I've been handcuffed on the curb. I've been guns drawn, just as an African American male trying to grow up in this country. So, justice will come at some point.
My hope,
and hopefully things will change.
Our
but man,
hope, as this huge case continues to play out. The decertification, I want to add, was a peace officer standard and training commission certification. So just hearing that name alone, decertification is definitely the right action here.
And color's not the case here. Blue and black is the case.
It's the blue culture. That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Let's talk about this. The school board meeting in Temecula, California got intense as parents, staff, and other community members gathered to discuss critical race theory. A white woman shouted for a black speaker to leave the country. That's when the meeting took a turn. Take a look.
If I feel that way, why don't I get out of the country? My family.
Sir, that's your first warning. The second warning, you'll be asked to leave.
She said get out of the country. She told me to get out of the country. My family has been here since August 16th, 1619.
Sir, that's enough.
And Jamestown, Virginia, my family is here. We've been slaves for 400 years.
Jason, please escort this man out of the building. Thank you. If you would like, the whole auditorium can leave. That's the way we're going to conduct.
Joe, Joe.
We need order in the building, or I'll let everybody leave.
I object to that.
All right,
if this
10-minute
woman
recess.
said that to him,
10-minute recess.
She needs to be excused.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was a tough listen and a tough watch, but there was no right there, because there is a way to resolve conflicts without everyone leaving the building. An expression of emotion isn't a reason to immediately be expelled from a meeting.
And he looks like he is, very respectively, passionately giving his point of view. This is the man who was asked to leave. And while all of that ruckus was happening, there was another incident in the same meeting where a white adult male approached a young teenage girl and kind of walked up on her in a way that appeared to be a bit threatening. And you can take a look here. And it was just frightening for a moment. And you had parents standing around, and it wasn't until someone who looked like maybe a black father kind of stepped in to check this man to say, hey, this is a child. You could feel the way you feel, but this is a child. So a lot of busyness over the weekend in regards to how this potentially played out.
Yeah, that was surprising that he immediately threw the African American man out, not the person who yelled the comment. And it's just interesting how the whole thing played out.
Take a look. So could you imagine all of that going on at one time? The meeting was, of course, cut short, like we heard. No word rather on if the district will attempt to have a second meeting. If they do, they're really going to need to plan that properly. Maybe have some security or police on hand to make sure things just stay calm and cool and collected. But just a horrible display of adulthood. You got to remember you have kids in there, and we're there for the reason of kids to make sure they're getting what they need. And yeah, we may disagree on that, but let's go about it as adults because we are, no matter what side of that argument you're on, we are setting an example.
We are, and I wish we would be at a place where we can all have conversations that move problems forward, like actually addressing the problem. Nothing got solved in that meeting. Nothing happened that's going to help anyone except you guys made the news. And I think sometimes people come to a meeting like that ready for conflict, inviting conflict. Yeah. And so it's tough to see things change if that's the way we're going to interact all the time. So hopefully things can change soon. The World Athletics bans transgender athletes from competing in female sports starting on March the 31st, just a few days from now. And it's largely targeting athletes who transition from male to female after going through puberty as a male. Now, the move has drawn criticism from the LGBTQAI community, Q+ community advocates, but the organization's pledge to explore ways for transgender women to compete in the future. Athlete Ally has slammed some decisions, stating that it will shatter the dreams of younger transgender girls. Now, recent years have seen movements limiting trans women's participation in all women's sports, with protests outside of the NCAA convention in San Antonio in January. This is another one of those very tough conversations that need to be had. And you'd think, however it's decided, it could be decided fairly, but the definition of fairly is on which either side the science lands for you. It's such a tough subject.
And it is the science.
It really is.
They may have, they're transgender at this point, but biologically, do they still have an advantage? And I think that's a valid point. On the other side of that, they're saying, research has shown that they don't necessarily have an advantage, and that, not all transgenders, are winning races,
Right.
I hear you, but I still think that other side of the argument is valid. Nicola and I
go back and forth.
We go back and forth a bit. It's a nice going back and forth, but I've pretty much stood my ground with. I'm just concerned if there is a biological advantage.
That's where I am. It's about testosterone and the amount of muscle you're able to build. It's just genetically men are able to build more muscle. So
does that give them an advantage?
Yeah, that's the question. I can't answer it. I'm not a scientist. That is the question.
All right, Heather Williams, who accused R. Kelly of coercing her into a sexual relationship when she was just 16, has been granted priority access to the singer's Sony Music royalty account by the Illinois Supreme Court. Somebody's going to have to show her the money. Now, Williams was awarded a $4 million default judgment after Kelly failed to respond to her 2019 civil suit. The value of the account was last assessed at $1.5 million in 2020. You remember Kelly was sentenced to 30 years in prison and a $100,000 fine last year after being convicted of sex trafficking and racketeering. He was sentenced to an additional 20 years last month for sex crimes in Chicago.
I don't know if I've ever heard of that, where someone's awarded royalties.
I guess maybe it's just a creative way to get these victims their money.
Get their money,
as far as with the judgment.
I know that's an interesting. But I guess it's all about your own legal battle.
And unless that account has grown, it doesn't seem like there's enough in there to cover what she's been awarded. $4.some-odd million. There's only about $1 million in there. So I wonder how they're going to make good on the rest of what she's owed.
Well, royalties are in perpetuity. So anytime it plays in a movie, a TV show, any of his songs are used, somebody's getting that money, and it's going to be her.
Maybe she'll just continue to get a
collect
check as
until you hit that amount. Coming up, a major lawsuit from Nike shoes against a Detroit-based company.
Uh-oh, we're going to tell you what the sneaker giant says StockX got all wrong. That story and more coming up. You're watching Fox Soul's Black Report.
All right, now, welcome back to Fox Soul's Black Report. Twitter says it's removing the verification system that awarded blue check marks to accounts that it had determined to be authentic.
Starting April 1st, the verification system will be removed. The once free check marks will now only be accessible on Twitter Blue, that you won't have to pay for.
Twitter Blue.
Okay. Notable accounts are not necessary for Twitter Blue. However, being truthful, active, and older than 90 days are requirements for the new service. Plus, I think it's like $10 a month or something, $10, $11,
whatever
like
it is.
Mm-hmm.
I do not understand, but it's not for me to understand. I'm not a tech genius. I do not understand what Twitter is doing with all these maneuvers within
making
the account.
money.
I know they're trying to figure out how to make more money. It was valued over the weekend. I read an article. It was valued at $20 billion, $22 billion, but he bought it for $40-something billion. So it's already depreciated. This whole blue check mark thing, does it really mean that much to people?
Blue checks do. You get a blue check. The only blue check that I have not been able to get is Instagram. They are stingy. And Facebook came to me about verification. It's the same. It's got to be the same people, but I can't get verification on IG. So I don't know what the criteria is. I don't know what happens.
I just want my people to follow me.
Yeah.
And not have any fake accounts.
I've had some success without the blue check, but people really hold that valuable. Therein lies, you know, the intrinsic value of what this blue check is supposed to mean.
Pay for a blue check mark. Okay.
Well, that's supposed to do.
That's just me. I'm just me talking. Just a dude talking.
Let's go to Utah. Lee, you ever been to Utah?
I have.
Utah's Republican governor.
I looked around too. I said, anybody else been to Utah?
That governor there has signed off on the controversial social media legislation that goes into effect on March 1st of next year. The bill is considered the most aggressive step yet by state or federal lawmakers to protect kids online. Now, under this bill here, social media platforms will have to conduct age verification for all Utah residents, ban all aids for minors, and impose a curfew, making their sites off limits between the hours of 10:30 at night until about 6:30 in the morning. You know, listen, can you really police social media and young kids? I mean, you can be doing, you know, one of the most, you know, innocent searches ever, and some filth will come up.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's really hard to police.
Well, that's never happened to me, Courtney.
It's happened to me, and it scares the heck out of you, because it's like, especially if it happens at work, or you know, I don't want anybody thinking of, you know, it's nuts. And I'm talking about unintentional searches, and these things pop up. I applaud the effort we're trying to protect our young people. I just don't know how foolproof this is going to be.
Yeah, and the plans to protect come with safeguards. Those safeguards are usually passwords, and if the kid has the password, they're just going to put it in again. And so I've heard of people trying to regulate their kids with certain amount. You can only be on from this time to this time with a password. The only one I've heard that works well is if you shut down the internet at home at a certain time. But then
they don't have access to it. Yeah,
nobody can get it.
Because I don't care how much they try to, you know, find ways. These young folks are slick, and they are going to get to what they want to get to.
Yeah, and that stops them from gaming, but it doesn't stop them from using their cell connection to get the apps.
They'll find a way. They're going to find a way.
But we can still try.
Yeah.
And Utah will definitely try.
It sounds like it.
Let's talk about TicketMaster. It's facing a class action lawsuit over alleged price gouging linked to Drake's upcoming concert. Another artist, this time Drake. A Canadian law firm claims TicketMaster, quote, intentionally misled customers for their own financial gain. No, not Ticketmaster.
They say it ain't
for their own financial gain?
Say it ain't so.
What? Now, the firm alleges Ticketmaster knew about an alleged Montreal tour date but failed to adjust prices, and that it sold ordinary seats as official platinum seats. The plaintiffs are seeking compensation plus $300,000 per customer in damages.
You know, I always hit that drop down to see what the charges are.
Right.
I don't care if it's tickets. I don't care if it's plane tickets. And I'm like, well, what is this? And sometimes I'll call and ask, what is this? Well, why? And why? And cable bill, all kind of crazy other nonsense.
Way you roll.
Listen, and I'll call and ask. I mean, you know, you eventually end up paying because, you know, I feel like it's a bit of a ripoff. But, you know, like, what is this and why? You know, I'll call and ask questions like there was some kind of sports tax. I was like, I don't even watch this channel. This channel doesn't even come on in my area. Why am I being taxed for this? So you really have to hit that drop down and go over that bill. I think digitally we just have a tendency to, you know, trash it or we, you know, save it for later, but really tap that thing and see what these bills are asking for. And TicketMaster, I mean, I know the cost of concert tickets are extremely high nowadays, but they are just off the charts and ridiculous.
And, you know,
I
think government is involved in looking at TicketMaster. They need to be involved in looking at TicketMaster because we had a story last week, made news, where you can buy a ticket for Madonna's concert overseas, and it was less than the price of a plane ticket and the concert over there.
I saw that.
So if they find a way to regulate tickets over there without TicketMaster, why are we paying these $1,800 prices for Madonna over here?
Greed.
Yeah, there it is.
Greed.
There it is.
Greed. All right, Nike taking a swipe at StockX, the athletic company claiming the Detroit-based business is selling counterfeit versions of its sneakers, gym shoes is what we call them up here. Nike is also adding false advertising and counterfeit claims to its existing lawsuit against StockX after the sneaker giant says it purchased 4 pairs of fake sneakers from the resale platform. Now, in the suit, the gym shoe giant accuses the resale platform of blatantly free riding almost exclusively on the backs of Nike's famous trademarks and associated goodwill. You can't mess with the swoosh, baby. You can't mess with the swoosh.
Yeah, Nike is something, and
we're just a machine.
We're not talking about Air. We're not talking about Air Jordan's brand. That's $1 billion brand. Nike above that. It's insane the amount of money that they bring in.
Yeah, and you're not gonna, you know, mess with the swoosh or anything that they have rights to. And you know, a lot of this counterfeiting, unfortunately, goes on a lot. So you know, I'm wondering, you know, out of all that Nike has to take a look at and do, how were they able to just pinpoint this? But unless somebody was snitching or something like that. But you know, this goes on all the time. Why, you know, this particular company? Why now? I wonder what really happened behind the scenes. Yeah, man.
Because you go to New York and get knock-off this and a knock-off bag of that.
Is it Canal Street? Yeah, you can get some of everything.
You knock off whatever you want. So why are they focusing right here? And there's always a story behind the story.
Yeah, somebody's snitching.
Now his pockets just keep getting fatter, according to a new Forbes report. Jay-Z net worth has soared to $2.5 billion.
I'm wondering, is that by himself?
Billion. That doesn't include his wife. I think that's just by itself. Billion. Now, while the report is slim on details, it notes that the fortune of Sean Carter runs well past music. Here are some of his revenue and where it's coming from. Can you help me out on this one? I don't drink.
Me neither.
Yeah, his champagne is worth $310 million. Cash and investments, including a stake in Uber, get out, worth $70 million. $220 million to his cognac, $100 million to Tidal streaming, $100 million to Rock Nation, $75 million to his music catalog, $75 million in his art collection, $70 million. $50 million in real estate.
So like I said, so this is without Bay. Because I remember very early on when they were established as billionaires, it's because they were two together.
That just hit me.
What?
Man, he's got a lot of money.
He does.
And he does so many different ventures and he does them well. Respect to Jay-Z, but man, we can break a job.
I think this is like a solo effort. Like I said, I remember in the beginning, him and Bay together were billionaires, but now obviously their individual financial portfolios are just growing. Big ups, like that's amazing.
It is truly amazing.
And you come from the same generation, so we saw how he came up. Listen, I'm not mad.
$2.5 billion, and he's married to Beyonce. I'm not hating. I love music, love everything. Man, this is...
What a life, huh?
Oh, man, the stuff that dreams are made of.
Listen, all right, still ahead, the future of Africa.
Yes, indeed. It is an amazing place to go. The vice president is there right now, and we'll tell you about all the Afrofuturism. It's an exhibit that you need to pay attention to that dates back to W.E.B. Du Bois. We'll have that information coming up. Yes, sir. Remember Rip?
Okay.
Rip used to say it all the time. Rip Hamilton. Yes, sir.
I do.
A lot of people
Rip.
say it. Yeah. All right. Welcome
Good
back
people.
to Fox Soul's Black Report. Let's jump into the National Museum of African American History and Culture in the nation's capital. It has launched a much anticipated exhibit on Afrofuturism.
Yeah, so the 4,000 square foot exhibit showcases more than 100 objects from music, television, comics, and more. Highlights include Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther costume, Octavia Butler's typewriter, George Clinton's wig, honey, from his Parliament Funkadelic days, and Vernon Reed's guitar. You better know it.
Afrofuturism is a genre that centers around Black history and culture, incorporates science fiction, technology, and futuristic elements into literature, music, and the visual arts. Now, the genre can be tracked back to W.E.B. Du Bois, his writings back in the 1800s, and wasn't coined, though, the term wasn't coined until the 1900s. Now, the hope is for this kind of art to help African Americans escape the mental bondage and actual slavery back then, but mental bondage of slavery and discrimination now.
Yeah.
I
So
really
interesting.
love it.
Yeah.
It places, especially some of the fiction, places you African Americans in places you just don't see. How many times when you go to the movies do you see a brother in space?
Not often.
Not very often at all. Not very often at all.
So you can go from that perspective to some of the folks that they've highlighted, how futuristic they already were, like a George Clinton, you know, and so, you know, it deems them as like mavericks, if you will.
Of course, the mothership connection.
Yeah, it doesn't get any more Afro-futuristic than that. And I must have missed it back in the 90s when somebody coined the name, because this is new for me.
Afrofuturism.
Yeah,
Afrofuturism.
Cool. It's very cool.
You know, George came in here, the other studio. He was in the other studio.
Was
once.
he?
Man, that dude is something.
George Clinton.
Incredible.
Uncle George, he is.
It's just nice.
Legendary.
Yeah.
He's good people. Yeah.
Cracking jokes, good stuff.
All right, journalist Leroy Chapman Jr. is making history at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Chapman was named editor-in-chief of the AJC yesterday, making him the first top Black editor in the newspaper's 155-year history. He has been with the publication since 2011. Chapman will replace Kevin Riley, who is one of the longest tenured editors at the AJC. A representative from the publication says he has made, quote, invaluable contributions to the institution and city. And I'll say, Lee, he's probably about with us. Don't let the gray fool you. You know, sometimes,
Handle
you know,
his
that little
business,
wisdom
yeah.
comes in on the early end, but it's just great to see this ascension, if you will.
One man round of applause.
Yeah, that's
Leroy
good stuff.
Chapman Jr. Go ahead with your
Down
bad
there
self,
in
my man.
Atlanta.
And handle your business.
Keep doing it.
Handle it. Billionaire Mackenzie Scott continuing to give a lot of money on a giving spree. Now, she recently announced the launch of a $250 million open call focused on elevating organizations working working with people and in places experiencing the greatest need in the United States. Those communities, individuals, and families with access to the fewest foundational resources and opportunities. Now, an open call, I had to go look this one up. An open call is for community-led organizations with purpose in advancing voices and opportunities of individuals and families of meager or modest means, and groups who have met with discrimination or systematic obstacles to reach for funding. Now, it's asking those specific groups to reach out for funding. That's what an open call is. Now, organizations that are interested must register at yieldgiving.org by Friday, May the 5th. So you got a little bit of time. The billionaire philanthropist has already yielded more than $14 billion for about 1,600 nonprofits since 2019. Now, according to a new website, millions have gone to HBCUs, and that is, of course, Jeff Bezos' former wife.
Yeah. which is how she amassed a lot of, if not all of her
a
billions.
lot of
but
money,
listen,
but she also helped him amass
I was going to
Amazon,
say,
so she
was at the
deserves
ground
that money.
apps, which is why
Yes.
she got it.
Yes.
And so I kind of took a look at how much she has to give away, $27 billion. Hey, Mackenzie.
Yeah.
I can give you a station address here.
Yeah, $250 million, and it's a good opportunity for some of those. If you're listening to us, go to that website and see if you can apply, because there's money there to be given, and she has it to give.
Yes, she
I
does.
love that she's doing this, because she could. Her family, she could never spend that money in a lifetime. Never.
All right, we're still inside of Women's History Month, and so let's focus in on some her story as we continue. You like it? Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Courtney.
We're going to celebrate investor, businesswoman, and financial educator Melody Hobson, co-CEO and president of Ariel Investments. That's out of Chicago. It's a big firm with about $16.8 billion in assets, Lee.
Now, she also sits on the board of Starbucks and JP Morgan Chase, and was chairman of DreamWorks board until it was sold to Comcast. Now, she is a longtime advocate on financial literacy, calling it a key to generational success. Hobson's Ariel Investments Ariel Alternatives recently raised $1.45 billion for Project Black LP. Now, that's an inaugural private investment initiative of Ariel Investments.
Now, Forbes reported these efforts would move S&P companies to spend between $8 billion to $10 billion with Black and Latino suppliers, resulting in a significant increase in jobs for minorities. Hobson also made history last year after becoming part owner of the Denver Broncos.
No way. She's part owner of the Broncos too. Good for her.
That was after old boy left, right?
Oh,
He was, the quarterback, Wilson.
After he left.
They're struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll find their footing with the sister at the helm.
I love that she is making it a point to not only give back, but that financial literacy piece is so unbelievably important, because when you start understanding how to navigate with your money and how to make it accumulate, it can be a game changer. And I'm not talking about at the $1 billion level. I'm talking about at the pay the water bill and the cable bill level. Because if you start making right choices, then it starts adding up over a lifetime. It can be game changing.
And what I love is that she was already suited and booted and a heavyweight, walking real heavy, even before the marriage with the director, George Lucas. She was already who she was, and just continues to thrive in that as one of our financial leaders and waymakers. Gotta appreciate her for sure.
You know what? You know what's cool is we just had 2 different stories about Black billionaires.
And we
said
used the word B.
With a B. What?
With a B, Lee.
Back in the day, and you know what I'm talking about? It was like zero.
Far and few between.
Like Oprah one day.
That's about
if she keeps working.
It was about only Oprah, really.
It really was. All right, up next, a major lawsuit against Lionsgate and 50 Cent.
Yeah, we're going to introduce you to the man who says the famous character Ghost was based on him. Don't go anywhere, soulmates. We got you. You're watching FOXSOUL's Black Report. Oh, God.
Isn't that what Grandma used to say?
Welcome back, soulmates. Listen, actor Jonathan Majors, we're going to talk a little bit about this. You may know he was arrested in New York over the weekend, charges of assault, harassment, and strangulation after an alleged altercation with a girlfriend. Who knew?
Yeah, some reports said girlfriend, some reports said friend, but it came out later. Perhaps it is a girlfriend. Law enforcement sources say that an argument between the two arose after she saw another woman texting him on a taxi return home from a bar in Brooklyn. She claims that when she tried to look at the phone, he became angry and allegedly slapped her, grabbing her hand, putting his hands around her neck during this incident. Now, Majors has denied the allegations, and the case is currently under investigation. I will say, more reports came out that his team, lawyers, representatives, have said that it was in a New York taxi cab. Those have cameras. We will have the footage for you and prove him innocent with that footage.
Yeah.
That has been said. So I am so interested. He did an Army campaign.
They've already pulled it.
And they pulled the campaign so quick. so quick. But I understand if you join the military, you can't have a criminal record.
Yeah.
I understand that. So he was arrested, but he is innocent until proven guilty. But still, on a public level, anything is a bad look.
Yeah, I'm curious to ask you, with you being a film critic, any rumblings about what Marvel is going to do? I heard that they're kind of like in a pickle right now as to do we hold tight and see what happens, or do we pull up?
They have to hold tight because he is
the star.
A long-term investment. He's a villain. He plays Kang the Conqueror in Quantum Mania, the Ant-Man movie, and they set it up for him to be in many more. So they need to hold tight, which they will. And I said this about others. Other celebrities have done things and weathered storms worse than this. I'm not trying to belittle it at all. If he did what he did, you know, he will suffer the consequences.
Yeah.
But Eddie Murphy was arrested at one point for something that happened. Most
Who
people don't remember that at all.
That's right.
Hugh Grant arrested once for something that happened. Who remembers that? I mean, so we're talking about a celebrity, so we have to wait and see. And the U.S. Army put them on hold. They didn't cancel them. They put them on hold.
Yeah,
so
but it's just a takedown that you don't want to see because, you know, justice hasn't played out
so
just
quick
yet.
too.
It's so quick.
He just rose. Like 3 weeks ago, he didn't have one movie. Now he has 2 of the top 5 movies.
And I feel that sometimes when it's folks of color, we just don't get the grace that other folks would get or the patience. All right, rapper 50 Cent is facing a $300 million lawsuit from former drug kingpin Corey Ghost Holland, who alleges that Lionsgate Entertainment enabled 50 Cent's vicious intimidation against him. Holland claims that the company knew about his harmful tendencies, but did not take appropriate action. This guy is seeking compensation for intentional infliction of emotional distress and other allegations, as well as prohibiting Lionsgate from using his life story in future productions without permission and compensation. All right, movie critic guy, what you got to say? I know you got some insight on this.
It's all about money. I don't even know what that means. What was that? Intentions? He knew about his harmful. Everybody knows where 50 came from. What does that even mean? It sounds to me like a blatant money grab. Now, did he use his likeness? Did he use the term ghost, referring to will be settled in court? It's one of those where it's a big deal all the way up until it gets settled for an undisclosed amount.
But how many rappers and movies? I mean, Snowfall is running right now, and they say it may be loosely based upon Freeway Rick or Rick Ross or something. You know, so how many times have rappers, you know, kind of glorified, you know, these lifestyles and taken, you know, their names and nicknames? Exactly. I don't know if dude has an argument or not, if he'll get any money. You know, 50 doesn't like to pay up for anything, so I'm sure he'll fight back.
If you work for it, you can get the money. But if not, I'm with 50. You got to prove it, and if you prove it, he'll pay. He'll have to.
Yeah.
All right. The funeral arrangements are set for a beloved executive in the music industry. Claiborne Evans Jr. died over the weekend after suffering a stroke early this month. Now, Evans was the vice president of Grand Hustle Records. There he is right there, which was created by Atlanta rapper T.I. He was also the CEO of Rubicon Brand Management. A number of artists are posting their condolences on social media, including Big Boy, 2 Chainz, Snoop Dogg, and Pharrell. Rest in peace.
Yeah. All right. Mary J. Blige is set to executive produce 2 new original movies for Lifetime.
Can I say that I love Mary J?
Who doesn't?
One time I was like 10 feet away from her when she was singing. I was just staring right at her. She looked right at me in the eye.
And you still in awe.
So Mary J.
Okay. The films
back to you, Courtney. Go ahead. You can read what you need
by
to read
the singer's biggest hits, Stretch of a Woman. That was a great moment, though.
Yeah.
And Real Love, and will premiere on back-to-back Saturdays starting on June 10th.
Courtney, I'm looking for Real Love.
I know you are.
Yeah.
We can hook you up. Do you hear that, soulmates?
Yeah.
Good people right here. Real Love follows a college freshman named Kendra as she falls in love with her classmate, while Strength of a Woman picks up 15 years later with Kendra in a failing marriage and unexpectedly re-entering her life, this love interest, I guess. Now, the movies are also partnering with the nonprofit Take the Knight Foundation to End Sexual Violence. Go ahead, Mary. She's got a lot going on, and who knew? I remember back in the early 90s when the album hit, and she was all rough, and who knew?
Remember that Method Man song?
Yes.
I know we can't sing any of them because we don't have the rights.
You
have to be
doggone
careful.
right. That's
but
right.
y'all know the Method Man song I'm talking about.
Who knew? A Oscar-nominated, a well-respected actress. She's got the wine line. She's got the talk show now. She is even coming full circle with a scheduled meetup and performance with Jodeci. We all know that the tumultuous relationship between her and KC. Can you imagine the coming to Jesus meeting that they had? Or it could have just been like, let's get this money and let bygones be bygones. Or they may have really sat down and really talked that thing out. Who knows?
Either way,
but it's coming.
It's tough to be in the same room sometimes with someone you've had static with. So it's good. This is good to see on any level. And I just think when she sings about strength and perseverance and all these things, you really felt it from day one.
That's right.
And I love her music. I love what she's done. Mary J's all right with me.
The queen of hip hop soul. That's what they call her.
Yeah, she's all right with me.
Yeah. Still ahead. I know she is. Still ahead. It's our favorite segment, Black Excellence Time, Lee.
Yes. We'll tell you about actor Jesse Williams, what he's up to in order to help thousands of black students. That's coming up.
We gotta get you backstage to the MJB concert.
I was like,
get you a kiss on the cheek.
Mary? How you feel? Welcome back to Fox Soul's Black Report. Pasadena, California just got its first black-owned independent bookstore highlighting BIPOC authors. Now, Nikki High was inspired to open a space of her very own with an all-inclusive slant. Yeah, BIPOC stands for Black, Indigenous, and People of Color. And with huge support from the local community there in Pasadena, High opened Octavia's Bookshelf, a fitting name after the iconic Octavia E. Butler, who is a famous Pasadena science fiction writer. Yeah, with help from Pasadena residents and social media, bookworms, High has been able to raise $22,374 on GoFundMe to make the dream a reality. I love this. I do. And amazing. I still, even though my young one is a little bit older now, I still do take her to the library to get that physical book addiction, because I do still get physical books myself. Yeah, there's some great libraries. We're here in Detroit, the FOXSOUL headquarters, and there's one right up the street, Southfield Library. Great library. Any favorite books you're reading? I know it's hard to, I just finished reading The Alchemist again for another time. But I'm big on like self-help, self-improvement, understanding, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm going back over a Jan Le book, one of her very first, just to shore up and to, beef up this, beef it up. Just to get your mind right. That's right. Get you in the right place. That's right, that's right. Actor and activist Jesse Williams is getting back to his roots as he recently launched Homeschooled. Now that's the name of a new gaming app for all ages that aims to celebrate through trivia with a major emphasis on pop culture and categories like Growing Up Black, Soul Brothers, and Divas. That sounds about right. Yeah. Sports, geography, and the internet are among the other features. There's even a Grey's Anatomy section that asks real-life medical science questions. Each category is timed, and players can compete against friends, family, and even celebrities. See how you do that? You place that on your forehead, and then you have to guess. I love those kinds of games. Now, Williams says the Homeschooled app was born out of a shift towards virtual learning during the pandemic and frustrations with diversity education in schools. Now, Williams taught high school. Did he in Philadelphia for 6 years before he decided to pursue an acting career? I did not know that. Yeah, he was a high school teacher. High school teacher. He was from Chicago, transitioned to Philly, and was a high school teacher for 6 years before he said, I want to be an actor. And now he has an app. Yeah, and will go down in history as Grey's Anatomy's cutie pie. I don't know. You like Grey's Anatomy? I never watched Grey's Anatomy, to tell you the truth. Me neither, but I do know he was a big hit. He was. And the ladies loved him. Yeah. And he's the man. Good job. I like that he's doing something for the people. Yeah. I do too. Thanks for joining us today. Are we done? Yeah. Can you believe that? Good friends, good conversation. Can I say something really quick just to clear up everything? Sure. Just in case Hallie's watching. I do love Mary J. Blige, but Halle Berry has always been my one and only. And so, just in case Hallie is tuning in.
She's still your boyhood crush?
Yeah. Really? No, it was manhood crush.
Manhood crush,
yeah.
boyhood crush.
Met her a couple of times. Oh, man.
You did?
Yeah,
Sweet
man.
and pleasant?
She was great. I think I made a fool of myself.
Yeah.
But
back when she was married to Eric Benet, I was doing TV and radio down in Mobile, and that's where Eric Benet's family is from. So yeah, I got a few glimpses of the Queen Haley Berry. Yeah, she's a sweetheart. All right, for
no shade on Mary J though.
For the full run today, Mary's gonna get you. For the full run on today's stories and more, you can access Fox Soul's video on demand on any of our partners. You can even access past shows and other Black-centered content. And don't forget to download the Fox Soul app. It is absolutely free. Real quick, I want to take a moment to thank Brandon and the entire Fox Soul and Fox 2 family for coming to my rescue on Friday. We suffered a loss by way of a house fire. My grandmother and my uncle. So we're still moving through that. But let me tell you, I see these folks every day, and we speak in the hallway and we give hugs. And so when something like this happened, that just proves the point that you are family, because we spend more time with each other than sometimes we do our own family. But I just wanted to put out the thank yous and the acknowledgments and the love and support. It really meant a lot moving through that this weekend. So thank you so much.
We appreciate you and your time. And when I heard that last week, it touched me, because
we report the news. You never think you're going to be the news.
Part of it.
But
I'm glad we were all able to step up.
And I want you to keep your home safe, stay vigilant. I'll be transparent. It was due to cigarette smoking. So let's be mindful and let's stay safe and keep each other safe.
Yeah, and we'll continue to report the stories that you guys need to hear.
Yeah, Lee Thomas, we appreciate you always clutch.
Now, how do you get that Africa assignment? How do you get that Africa? I want to hang out with the vice president.
You're gonna have to text him and ask him, honey. I don't know, but
he's great at what he does. We look forward to him giving us reports as she goes throughout the continent of Africa.
That's exciting.
The Quarter-Life Quartet. I'm just sitting in for the moment.
Guest starring, as we like to say, because you're special. I'm Courtney Hicks.
I'm Lee Thomas.
Thanks for watching Fox Soul's Black Report. Be safe. Have a good one. We'll see you soon.